Hey, what is going on everyone? It's JaytheRocketMan here, back with another interview. For today's session, I will be interviewing a YouTube content creator who uploads family-friendly content regarding popular games such as Plant vs. Zombies, Mario Kart 8, Pokemon, and many others. While was started from humble beginnings 7 years ago, has evolved with more than 70,000 subscribers, amassing at least 200,000 views per month. This is indeed live, and he is on the other end of the Skype call. Let's give a warm welcome to our guest who goes by Zebra.
Hi, as you said, I'm Zebra from youtube.com/MrZebraGamer. There's not much more I can put to it than that, though. You covered all the bases.
Perfect. So let's just go ahead and jump right into the questions here. Also, I just want to say I'm absolutely excited to have you here today, and I just want to thank you once more for dedicating your time to be here. But are you ready to answer some of these questions, sir?
Yeah, thank you for allowing me to be on your show. But yeah, I'm ready.
All right, absolutely. So, imagine that I'm a new viewer and I decide to click on your channel. What kind of first impressions are you trying to accomplish? And you can answer this with, your thumbnails, your YouTube banners, your voice, any of that. You can elaborate on any of it. But what is your first impression you're trying to give me?
All right, well, I'm Zebra, the king of the jungle and the leader of the zebra herd, which is everybody who chooses to subscribe to the channel. My goal is always just to post daily family-friendly content, and I try to be, as much as I can, a role model in any way I can be. Basically, I realized a long time ago that the kind of people who watch my videos are very similar to how I was, when I was that age. So I try my best to always make the light of every situation and give people a reason to smile with each video.
That's awesome. That's definitely inspiring to actually hear. But is there any specific type of age group you're catering to? Just throwing that in there.
Well, since I'm family friendly, it definitely ends up being younger. Obviously, most people don't put their real age on YouTube, so I don't know any specific numbers. But I usually just assume it's around 16 years old and less, depending on what game it is.
Sure, that's fair. So the second question here is, why did you start your YouTube channel?
Oh, well, that's a really long story. Because when I first started making videos in 2007, I was 11 years old. And that was around the age where my parents let me just browse the internet and were, confident I want to do anything stupid. So I went ahead and just went on YouTube and just explored my interests, which at the time, of course, were animations and video games and all that kind of stuff. And I just liked watching silly things. And another thing I was really into at that point, and all the kids were, I guess, at that time, was a game called RuneScape. It was an MMORPG.
Nice.
And
we all were, man.
a lot of a lot of people who play RuneScape at that point could probably attest to the fact that it didn't really hold your hand. You were sort of just led into the game, and you're like, okay, I'm lost, and I just started my account 5 minutes ago. So naturally, now that I have this game to play and I have this website, I just started looking on YouTube for tutorials and things to do in the game, and I quickly found not just information about the game on YouTube, but I found that people were using the game to make skits and music videos, and that blew my mind. The idea that people were using a video game as a platform for entertainment totally blew me away, and I was like, I gotta do this. So that was sort of the start of it all, and then I did all of that.
Yeah, right. No, were some of your early videos actually catered to RuneScape?
Way back when, yeah, I just made silly RuneScape skits, but it really influenced me, because when I see something I want to do, I just I try to find a way to do it, and I do it. And it was the first thing to influence me to think about how to make a video, find out how do you record your computer screen? How do you get an editor? What even is an editor? So it was those questions started going around my head, and that's sort of what started the flames of everything. And obviously I was just a kid, so I didn't post videos every day or something. I just, whenever I had a dorky idea, I would go for it. And it's funny because there are a lot more mistakes than anything. Those videos were awful. It's unfortunate because I don't think they exist anymore.
Right.
But it was not until a couple years later in early 2009 that I was just browsing YouTube again, and I found a video of somebody just talking over a video game. And I forget who it was. It might have been Nintendo Capri Sun.
Ah, classic.
Yeah, I think it might have been him. And I was like, okay, so this is cool, because this is another thing people using video games as a platform for entertainment. They're just talking over, and they're talking about the game and having fun, and they're just doing that. I thought that was really cool. So okay, let me try this now. So I think in October 3rd, 2009, I opened the Zebra Gamer channel and I just started doing that. And that was a lot of fun. And that's like when I really started like, okay, I really like doing this and it's something I want to do more often. And that's when I started really getting dedicated to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to go to the next question just yet. I just wanted to question something. Whenever you said you were into animations, were you specifically talking about Newgrounds by any chance?
I think I browsed Newgrounds at some point, but I definitely watched more of the YouTube stuff. Of course, there was always like the stick figure animations and Ed's World and some of the Tomska stuff. Like I loved that kind of stuff. I still love it to this day, but I don't know. I've never had the time and patience to really get more into animation. I'm sure it's something I'll explore one day, but I'm happy with what I'm working on right now.
Sure. I just didn't know if Newgrounds is kind of thrown in there. But with our third question here, what advice would you give to a new YouTube content creator? And why?
Oh, there's a lot of advice you can take, and that's why it's so tough, because it's just like there's so much I could say, but if you say everything, they get like it's easy to get lost. So it's important to like not fall in a cycle. Like when you first start Let's Playing, especially if you're completely fresh to making videos, right? It's easy to like be completely lost on everything. So like once you learn how to like edit and once you learn how to record, that's usually all the learning you have to do to make Let's Plays. You know, after that, it's like you can keep it simple. A lot of people do, and they get into that cycle where they're just doing the same thing over and over and over, and their flaws start to show. So always try to be introspective, rewatch your own content, rewatch other people's content, and compare in a way. Like don't compare your numbers because that never helps. But watch somebody you like and try to figure out why you like them and try to reflect that on yourself, because there's nothing wrong with seeing that somebody else is doing something better than you, because that doesn't mean you can't improve it.
Yeah, absolutely. And did you have any inspirations as you were, besides Nintendo Capri Sun? Is there anyone that you could really like attribute to?
Oddly enough, I don't think so. Like I liked the concept a lot. So I just, before I could even gather any inspirations, like I want to be like this or that person, I was already doing it.
Sure, yeah. But I'm actually just going to go ahead and go to the next question here. I want to touch on the fact, but I think you already answered that one. But what would you like to view yourself, or where would you like to view yourself in the next 5 years? And this doesn't have to be catered specifically towards your YouTube channel, just in general life. But if you want to speak about your YouTube channel, certainly go ahead.
5 years is a long time for now, so it's really hard to say, because it's like if I look at my life from 5 years ago, it's just like things drastically have changed. But like I would say, hopefully, you know, the YouTube boat keeps going. I would like to keep growing the zebra herd, and every year it gets bigger. 2017 has already been the biggest year ever, so hopefully it can continue in that direction. I definitely want to start other projects. I have a lot like in my mind, but like there's not anything that's come to the fruition. But I definitely want to start branching out to different art. You know, I've definitely been working on drawing and speaking different languages personally. So like that's sort of what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. I've actually been staring at your profile picture for Skype, and this just makes me wonder, where did your name Zebra come from, and why did you begin using it as your alias?
Well, maybe just because I'm a zebra that plays video games.
Right. I think you actually gave that answer on Twitter a few times, didn't you? Or no, did you do a Reddit? Did you like ask me anything on Reddit?
Probably a long time. I think I did one when I hit 5 years on YouTube.
Yeah, I think you did, because I remember reading, like, because I did a little bit of research before this interview, and I, like, found it, and it was like, yeah, I'm just a zebra that plays. Like, it was just funny for me to, like, watch or read some of your comments. But you were just rolling with it. I just didn't know if you had, like, a specific, like, time at one point where zebra just came from. Did you just think of it on the spot? You're like, okay, cool, zebra. Or is it more, like, you know, deep than that? Or are you just a zebra?
It's sort of hard to complain. Explain. Wrong word. Yeah, I am just a zebra, but it's one thing I like about it is that, you know, I could have been any other name, but people sort of believe in it and they're a part of it. And I guess some people would call that a gimmick, but like it's just It's another aspect that I feel like makes it more interesting, is that, you know, some people might view it as a character or just something, you know, unique. And I think that's really fun. And that gives me like a different aspect than I think other Let's Players.
Right, and personally, from my viewpoint, touching on that first question I asked you about what kind of first impressions, I looked at the zebra, I can honestly see it's a common theme on your channel, and that certainly stuck with me. Like, I know you as Zebra. That's just simply how it is, and you have done a great job with implementing that.
Thank you. That's a big goal for me, is that people think of me like that, because I feel like I am.
Exactly, and I like how you, market yourself as well. Like, what were your followers called, or your subscribers?
The zebra herd, because of
That's
course
awesome.
Zebras travel in herd. And you don't have to be a zebra to be a part of the zebra herd, but the idea is that, and a very cool thing about zebras is that they travel in a pack to stick together because that's how they survive. And I think that's really cool. Not because of the pack mentality, but more like stick together and be friendly to each other, and that'll help everybody get through okay.
Right, and it certainly makes a feeling of belonging whenever you do it like that. So it's oh, I'm part of the zebra herd, we're all family. So I understand where you're coming from on that. That's awesome. But basically, do you have any hobbies outside of YouTube?
Currently, I wouldn't call anything I do outside of YouTube hobbies more than responsibilities. One thing I do with my girlfriend is we take care of neighborhood cats. I guess you could say we foster them. We currently have 9 cats under our care, and every single one of them, wouldn't have survived without us intervening and taking them into our home. Either they have been abandoned or abused or have been, always been out in the wild and were born out there and had been injured. We have a lot of different stories, but that's sort of a big thing I do outside of YouTube. I haven't talked about it too much, especially since I'm still working on founding sort of a charity around it. And that's sort of in very early works. But hopefully a couple of years from now, that'll be something, I can say I'm also doing.
Yeah, because that's something I haven't personally come across about you, at all. I had no idea about that. Is that tied directly to a, Humane Society, or are you just doing this just to help out?
This is just something we do to help out. It's interesting because when I, first moved in with my girlfriend, Michaela, I had never been near a cat before, and she already had 4 of them. So it was an interesting turnaround for me, but I quickly adapted to it because I saw that there were just these animals that were innocent, that were in need, and they didn't have a home. And, the first thing I did is I jumped to it. And currently it's, all out of pocket stuff. It's just, something I do on my own accord, but it's something that hopefully I can turn into something greater to help more animals that might be in need.
Yeah, and that's certainly commendable. And I asked that question because I've actually worked for a Humane Society before, as well as volunteered. So I actually understand how this works, and I understand how Humane Societies, they're getting very full, and it's not the traditional shelter setting. But yeah, that's awesome for you, man. Really, I respect that 100%.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's coming from someone who has, of course, worked in these Humane Society settings. But you have already touched on this with the YouTube boat, but with the YouTube boat response you had stated earlier, do you plan on pursuing YouTube as a full-time career if it pans out?
I would say currently I do. Luckily, I live in a good living situation right now where I don't have to pay rent or electricity. So right now, honestly, I save up a lot of my money, and I perform YouTube as if it's my main goal, and all the cat-related stuff, that's 100% else of my time. So right now, I guess would say that, yeah, it is my full-time thing.
Okay, cool. And like you said, it's growing every single year exponentially. So, it should cater into some sort of full-time career advancement here. So, sooner or later, you're doing the right thing here. That's what I'm trying to say.
Thank you.
But what is one of the toughest decisions you've made regarding your channel, if there have been ones that were difficult for you to do?
That's an interesting question. I think the most difficult decision I made, I didn't realize I was making it at the time, and that was joining my first ever YouTube network. I'm not going to say any names just because I don't want anyone getting in trouble.
Sure.
But the first time I joined a YouTube network, it was not a good choice because I was 16, And when you're 16, and this was probably around 2012 when it was not very common for gaming YouTubers to even get offered partnership. To get offered into this network, I had to constantly email and ask them for 6 months straight. And I had 2,000 subscribers. So when they finally said, okay, if you sign this contract, you're in, I thought this is my only chance to ever make money off of YouTube. And obviously now, all these years later, that's obviously not true. But me being so young and just so willing to I wanted to do this.
You're just naive,
because
basically.
At the time, Yeah, because when I started doing YouTube, nobody was doing this as a job. Like, I saw it become what it is today. And, like, to me, that means a lot. So it was just like, I thought I have to do this. And it was a huge mistake because total ripoff of a network and everything. Luckily, I got out before, I was large enough to make a significant sum of money. But I learned a valuable lesson at a young age, which is to keep a level head, make sure you know what you're doing while you're doing it, and always have like a backup plan and look towards the future.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually didn't think that question would actually turn towards a network, but that's certainly like a good thing to like touch on, even for new YouTube creators, because some of them are still don't actually know the point of a network and the reason why they're here. But have you ever thought about potentially quitting your YouTube channel ever at all in the entire time span you had it?
No. Well, I mean, maybe. I haven't in a long time because I just like doing it so much. There was one time in high school where I did quit for a couple months, and I guess at that moment I considered myself quitting because I was in high school and, life is life and, all that kind of stuff. And there was
just busy. Yeah, I understand that.
And I think I was like depressed. So I was like, oh, I just don't want to do this anymore. And I was mad at the world. But I think every teenager goes through that. So, and then of course, it was my girlfriend Michaela at the time who made me realize that she's like, ever since you quit, you haven't not talked about it every single day. I'm like, oh, that's true. I guess I should go back to doing it. So
right. Exactly. Yeah, I can attest to that. I understand that one. But how would you describe your personality? Do you lean towards introversion, extroversion, or are you a little bit in between? Basically, this question boils down to, do you relax with people or do you relax on your own? Any sort of that leeway you can provide us here?
I'm a mixed bag, right? So, like, I don't mind talking to people at all, and I enjoy, a good conversation. But I'm also very, I guess, and I'm basing this off of what people have told me about me, because I'm not very introspective when it comes to my personality. I just sort of do what I want to do.
Sure.
But I guess some people claim that I'm, like, soft-spoken, but I've noticed it's only like that when it's something not that I'm specifically interested in. So, like, usually I have very chill conversations. But then if you talk to me about something like YouTube or gaming, I will talk for hours until like you don't want to hear it anymore.
That's passion for you right there, man.
And then beyond that, it's like I'm also one of those kind of people that like, while I do enjoy, I've gone to gaming convention and that's a lot of fun and it's really cool to meet people. I'm also that kind of person where I could just, chill in my office and work on videos for 3 months straight and not see anybody and be totally fine with it. So, like, I'm sort of flexible, I guess is the best way to put it.
Sure. But basically, even though you did provide us that answer already, do you actually feel more comfortable? I'm just trying to get to the basis of the argument here. Do you feel more comfortable around people? Like, would you actually want to be around people all the time? Or do you need that recharge?
I do prefer that loneliness. Like, I want to define it as loneliness because that would mean I would be unhappy with it. But I like having my own space for sure. Like, if I had to choose either being around people all the time or none of the time, I would definitely choose none of the time. And usually that's how it pans out for me.
Sure. So you can definitely adapt to like social situations and be like, the man of the party, but you need your downtime essentially.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm that charismatic, but I think I could hold my own at a party, hopefully.
Sure. And so it sounds like to me you're leaning more towards a little bit of introversion, but you have the potential to be extrovert whenever you want to. So yeah, like you said, you are pretty much a mixed bag here. But at what point did you actually? This is a question that I really wanted to ask you on Twitter before I actually even did this interview. But at what point did you realize your YouTube channel was beginning to pick up traction? And to elaborate, can you pinpoint one series that pushed your channel to gain views, or was it more of just a gradual progression, or maybe both? Do you have any insight for that one?
Yes and no. I feel like my growth on YouTube is particularly weird, especially for a Let's Player, because usually, like every Let's Player will have that 1 month where they grew so much more than they'll ever grow. Like either a game came out or a video went viral. That sort of seems to be the story for almost everybody, Right. But for me, it's been weird. For like the last, I would say almost year, every month has been just a little bit better than the last month. And it's been like that like year after year. Like maybe this month will be a little bit worse than the previous month. But on average, everything just slowly slants upwards instead of it being like an up and down roller coaster, which, I don't dig into everybody's YouTube stats all the time. But from my general consensus, that's not usually normal. But I feel like the first time I felt like a video blew up was back when Little Big Planet 3 released. And a lot of my success for like the first 5 or 6 years on YouTube was mostly based off the Little Big Planet games. And even today, some of my most viewed videos are on Little Big Planet. And when Little Big Planet 3 released, that was just sort of the climax of everything. You know, I had been hyping up the game. I was building a community based around the first 2 games, and it finally released, and everyone was excited for it. And it was one of the first big new games on the PlayStation 4. So it's sort of the stars aligned. And I think I got like 3,000 subscribers in a month, which at the time I probably had like 10 or 15,000. So that was like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because while that was my biggest moment at the time, I also knew it was like, I knew I had to change some things because I remember the game launched, and while it did okay, it only did okay, you know, the game itself. And I was like, uh-oh, because obviously that means if the game launches and it's only doing okay, that means in the future, what if the community dies? You know, I don't want to die with the Little Big Planet community or any other game community. So it was like at that moment, I was like, okay, well, Little Big Planet's going great. I'm going to keep doing that. But on the side, I'm just going to start doing new stuff. And you know, one of those things was Plants vs. Zombies. When the original Garden Warfare game came out, I think it was later the next year. And then I kept doing games like that, and I just kept finding more and more things that work. So now it's like I have a couple different avenues. If one game, you know, eventually sizzles out, I'm always working on something new. And that's sort of a lesson I learned when Little Big Planet 3 launched.
Right, and you know, I've actually seen other YouTubers where they get caught in that trap. It's like their channel is based on one game. Whenever the game dies, their channel dies. And I've actually seen that myself happen. And it's really a tragedy because they didn't capitalize at the moment to be like, hey, I need to go ahead and push my community towards a different game, you know, towards my own personality instead of just dedicating. So for a new content creator, and this just going back off of that original question I did ask you, would you actually recommend trying to base your channel around a game, then trying to morph the community over to another? Or I
think it always has to be a smooth transition.
Sure. Yeah, right. So you basically capitalized at the moment, and you're like, hey, let's go ahead and just start pushing these other series out. Then did a lot of your fans actually end up leaving once I don't know if you still play, Little Big Planet today, but was it hard to convert the original fans over to your newer series, or did you just pick up more fans as you just went along?
It actually wasn't that hard because I never stopped doing Little Big Planet. I had the foresight that, like, the game's not dead now, but it might be one day, so I better, you know, keep this rolling while I start rolling in other things. And, you know, that's why, you know, personally I try to upload more than one video a day. Hasn't been that way for the past month because, you know, real life stinks sometimes. But typically for the last couple of years, on average, I upload a couple videos a day. And that's always seemed to be a helpful thing is, you know, obviously maybe too much variety could be a problem, but still I play Little Big Planet from time to time. It's just a matter of the community isn't really there because, you know, Little Big Planet is one of those games where the community creates the levels. Right. So that's great when the community is there and strong, but when it's not, there's just nothing to show. So nobody, like, you know, I get an occasional comment like, oh, why don't you play Little Big Planet anymore? And it's just because I played them all a million times. But like, you know, if anything interesting happens in Little Big Planet, I still go back to it.
Yeah, and there's like so many ideas you can do with Little Big Planet. I mean, you can review maps that people create. You can view their creations, their various levels. I mean, you can do a lot of things. So there's still a lot of marketability for that game itself, in a sense.
Absolutely. And one thing I tried to do is usually there are very few people who are only interested in just one game. An audience group might be, but they actually might not know it. Like, you know, like while Little Big Planet was dying down, I was like, okay, then what can I do? Well, these people like it when there's community creations. Let me pick up some Minecraft. And then, you know, a year passed by. Oh my gosh, Super Mario Maker is coming up. And like those series, like I did those and they turned out great because while they weren't Little Big Planet, they were almost there. And it's like I was just easing, you know, it off of not just being Little Big Planet, but okay, now I'm sort of an established personality. You can come to watch me play these kinds of games instead of this game.
Yeah, and see, this is why I like doing the interview series, is to get those type of answers right where you just stated. Like, that is an amazing thing to tell someone. It's like, you know, don't just focus on one game for so long and just let the community die. You know, try to convert them over to other community-based games. Because it seems to me, just personally, as if, like, the big YouTubers themselves are generally based off of a larger game that was community-based originally whenever they started their channel. Like, you go back and usually Minecraft seems to be the big pusher. And even today, Minecraft is still that one big game that everyone, uses, and there's tons of mods and all of that. But that's certainly a great answer, which you just provided. I mean, that's certainly fantastic.
Yeah. And there's always opportunities. Whenever a new game releases, that's a new opportunity for you. And it's just about constantly taking that. Even if you're doing well, you still need to learn how to take those opportunities, because even if you're doing well today, tomorrow you might not be, and that's when maybe there won't be an opportunity. So it's always good to look out for that.
And do you feel that it's personally easier for you nowadays to kind of like play a new game and just convert your subscribers over, or do you still have to have that like hard, like, oh, which decision do I need to make on a new game? Or is there always that like, oh no?
At this point, I think it's pretty easy. I mean, I have a really good idea what my audience likes for the most part. And, especially I think at the end of the day, a lot of people are so focused on what, like, when they make a channel, like, oh, what games do I have to play? That's really important. And I think it is to a point, but what's more important is which demographic are you going to meet, right? And I think that's something that a lot of people make a mistake on. And, like some people like, okay, I'm going to play Minecraft every single day until I get absolutely sick of it. And then like 2 years from now, just on a whim, like the next year they're going, okay, no more Minecraft videos forever. We're only playing Call of Duty. And it's like, that's the problem, is that like the people interested in Minecraft, your audience might have been like, anywhere between the ages like 16 or below, and the people who want to see Call of Duty are like 20 plus. So it's like, that's the problem. It's not always that it's the game, but it's the demographic, right? Like if I had a cooking show, I can't just drop it and make it about car mechanics. It doesn't fit.
Right. But you have me dying over here. I wish my webcam was turned on. My head's just like bobbing up and down, like acknowledging your answers, and then that just starts like busting out laughing whenever you say something like that. Because that's so funny, because I can relate to that directly. I once had a YouTube channel, a Twitch channel that was based upon Minecraft, had like 2,000 followers. One day I just all of a sudden just turned the switch, and I was like, okay, I hate Minecraft, I'm tired of it, I just want to switch to a new game. My stream couldn't even hit 5 views, whenever normally it would hit like 30. Yeah. So I understand that completely.
And it's just keeping that in mind. And I've had my own experiences with that, Right now I keep things family friendly, but, my channel has gone through so many different phases because I grew up doing it. I started at 13 years old and now I'm 21. So it's like things just, I change as a person just like anyone else would at that age, like bracket. And I know there was a point, I think January, like the very first day of 2016, I'm like, okay, as of right now, Zebra Gamer is just 100% family friendly, and I'll make a second channel where if I want to do anything that's like, older demographic focus, I'll just do it on there, which was totally fine for me because I barely did anything outside of that anyways,
Right.
But it was something I actually realized was that, say I'm like, doing all these family-friendly games, and then like on the side of all these family-friendly games, I play Uncharted on the same channel. And, this is going to be different for everybody, but this is just my experience. The Uncharted series wouldn't do well for obvious reasons. It doesn't fit the scope of my subscribers.
Right, like the general theme.
But what I noticed is that because those Uncharted videos started doing badly, the rest of my videos started doing not as good. And obviously I'm sure everybody, talks about the algorithm. I'm sure something algorithmic was happening. Hey, they're not watching this video. Maybe they're going to stop watching the rest of his videos. And so they stopped, advertising it as much. So I was like, okay, let me get more focus on what my viewers are interested in, which is pretty big.
Yeah, the algorithm for YouTube is certainly pesky. Like, it's definitely one of those things, and I'm sure you're certainly aware, 100%, that. But was that a specific example with Uncharted, or were you just stating that?
It was a pretty specific example. I think it was more like The Witcher. Like The Witcher 3 I played, like, I was getting, and at this time, Witcher 3 released in like 2015, I was getting like, 3 to 500 views a video, and then I like would post a Witcher video and it would get like 15 views. And I was like, oh,
Right.
So in the beginning of 2016, I was like, okay, if, I have Zebra Gamer where I have a focus, I don't want to say I have a job, but like, if my goal is to entertain this group. And, if I still want to, in the mood, because, while YouTube is a job, I still love doing it. So if I don't get to do a game I want to do, it's like I go, oh, darn. So it's just like, if there's anything I feel like won't fit my audience, or I'm not even sure, if I'm not sure, I just put it on my second channel and just taste test it,
Right, and the whole second channel, idea, that's definitely like interesting because it's like, oh, like you said, you can just taste test it. So there's certainly, if you're feeling like you're lacking, to play like this ultra rated M for mature game, it's like just throw it on your second channel and see how it does.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, I mean, that's certainly, yeah, no, go ahead and speak.
And it's just, for me, it also sort of adds to that fact, people who are valuing me for my personality, opposed to me being that guy who plays that game, it helps add to those people's experience. They can see me play more games.
Right, exactly. So they can, if they like you for your personality, it's not like they have to cater just one specific genre of like family-oriented games. It's like, oh, cool, we can go watch this guy on additional content. We love this guy. We love Zebra. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
But I also see, and this is going to be probably one of the last questions here, but I pretty much went through the main 10 there. But basically, are you trying to cater towards like specifically Nintendo games? Because I understand a lot of those do fall under family oriented, or you just kind of bounce it around in between those games? Because I see like, even like your icon has like a Mario hat. So it's like, is that one of your general, basically I'm trying to ask, did you actually grow up with Nintendo, and does that have like kind of like morphed your channel into what it is today?
Oddly enough, I grew up more with PlayStation. I think I barely played any Nintendo as a kid, but it definitely fits now more than ever. Like, I mean, when I got started, the first game I ever played on my channel was Crash Bandicoot 2.
I watched it.
It just...
Yeah, I did.
Man.
Yeah,
it's not good.
It had no commentary, right? Yeah, because I remember watching it and I was like...
that's sort of the thing. That's the story. When I first started, I was actually, a little 13-year-old zebra. I was too afraid to do commentary. And then, luckily enough, I found somebody who was my age who had just started their first Let's Play too, and I started talking to them. And I was like, hey, it's cool that you're doing it. And they were commentating, and they just sort of asked me, well, why aren't you? And I go, why aren't I? And I just did it. And episode 1 through 7 on Crash Bandicoot 2, no commentary. Episode 8, commentary.
Oh, see,
hey guys.
See, I actually let it autoplay for about 3 videos. I never got to that 7th, so that 8th. I didn't even realize you actually started commentating. I went to a different series later on to see if you started. That's funny, man.
Yeah,
that's certainly like.
But I forget the original question. Sorry.
The original question was like, it was just basically asking like, hey, was it like your main morpher, or if you just kind of added it in with the family oriented, that kind of thing.
For me, it's just hitting those 2 pinpoints. 1, can I make it entertaining? And 2, does it, is my audience interested in it? If those 2 questions are answered yes, then I play it. Right now, recently, definitely Nintendo has been the biggest mix. I mean, if you look at Sony's E3 conference, did they announce a single game or show a single game that didn't have a T+ rating? I don't think they did.
Yeah, I don't think they did either.
So it's just like, right now, it's what fits, and it's what's exciting because Nintendo Switch is a big thing, and there's so many cool things coming in, so it's what I'm focusing on. And if tomorrow the only interesting family-friendly games are indies, then I'm going to play indies. If it's Xbox, I guess I'll go buy an Xbox, It's, for me, it doesn't matter where it's coming from, as long as I can make it entertaining.
Right. And like I said, I'm just saying family friendly just to pretty much summarize, like your audience is like, a little bit younger, tend more towards, So I'm not specifically stating, hey, this guy's family oriented. I'm just kind of throwing it in there to generalize it.
No, I understand. It's fine.
Yeah, just for some of the viewers, because I realized you didn't actually use that terminology. You were like, well, how can I pinpoint it towards my audience? So I understand that, though. But hey, man, I certainly appreciate you tuning into this interview with us today, and I certainly loved all of your answers. They were certainly insightful. Is there anything else you would like to drop in on this interview, or any sort of questions you have?
I don't think so. Thanks for having me, and thanks to anybody who listened, and I hope you all have a zebra-tastic day.
Zebra-tastic. You heard it from him, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. This has been JaytheRocketMan with Zebra. Please go check out his channel. It will be definitely in the description. I'm going to be sharing this all over the place. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you all have a fantastic day, or what was it one more time?
It was a zebra-tastic day.
Zebra-tastic day.